Hey, what's up guys? Devin here with Backcountry Exposure. Today's video is going to be a little bit of a hiking rant, or me just going off about my opinion about a news article that was on a local news station here in Utah just recently, a couple days ago, about people going into the backcountry that are ill-prepared or not prepared and calling for search and rescue because they weren't prepared. So before I really get into talking about the article, I want to share a story recently about something that really could have warranted a possible search and rescue situation, but because of the experience and somebody kind of doing their due diligence and thinking it through really heavily, we ended up not calling search and rescue. But the short story of what happened was I was laying in bed one night, it's like 11 o'clock at night, and I get a phone call from one of my friends. And he was out climbing in a local canyon called Rock Canyon, where there is lots and lots of climbing routes. And the particular route that he was on is called Cosmic Space Dust Lasers, and it's a multi-pitch route, so you climb several hundred feet over multiple pitches if you're not familiar with climbing. But he was probably, I'd say 150 feet, 200 feet off the ground, between the second and third pitch. And their rope, after he and his other friend that he was climbing with wrapped down to the next belay, the rope got stuck. And during that process, the rope also got a core shot. And the problem with that is they didn't have any other option to get down, but the rope got stuck. And because of the core shot, it kind of made things a little more difficult and compounded the situation. So I get a phone call, and he says, "Hey Devin, should I call search and rescue, or is this something you feel like you and somebody else could come help me out with?" So I just said, really, search and rescue is not going to get you down as fast as I can, unless you're like in a dire situation. Like I asked, are you out of water? Are you out of food? Like, are you in a comfortable position? Like, is it just a matter of you being up there and you need somebody to come get you? And he had plenty of water, he had plenty of food, he had a lighting source, and the only thing that they didn't have was a extra jacket. So they were a little bit cold, but in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't really that bad. So I grab all my climbing gear, I drive down to them, and I hike up with another coworker of mine, and we hike up to them, and within a couple hours we had them down because there were other things that took place. In fact, the rope that I was climbing on actually got stuck as well, and that just made things not very exciting, but we managed to get them down. And I actually have a friend who is on search and rescue. He volunteers for search and rescue, and I asked him about it, and I said, did we do the right thing, or should we have called search and rescue and had you guys come out? And he said, honestly, with your particular rope skills, you got him down faster than we could have, and they would have been up there for several more hours. And I'm not saying that search and rescue doesn't have the qualifications, they don't know what they're doing. He just basically was like, yeah, you have the experience, and so you were able to get them down faster than we would have been able to. So that was kind of a cool story, a neat experience to be able to help somebody out, but in the event of it really being a dire emergency, we would have called search and rescue. But let me get to this news article and talk about this, because this happened over the weekend. And the title of the article is "Searchers Stretched Thin in Utah County Amid Slew of Rescues." So I'm just going to read some parts of the article, and then we're going to talk about it. Searchers in Utah County are cautioning hikers, climbers, and others to know their limits after crews took part in a dozen rescues over the weekend and 2 more on Monday, which was yesterday. "We'd love to educate people a bit more about being prepared for the mountains," said Sergeant Rhett Williams, Search and Rescue Coordinator for the Utah County Sheriff's Office. "In some cases," he said, "searchers even encountered additional people who needed help while responding to an initial rescue call. In one case, this just absolutely blows me away, and this is really why I'm even talking or doing this video today. In one case, Williams said a mother and her teenage son and daughter didn't take flashlights for their hike on Mount Timpanogos. They summited at 10:30 at night and then were calling for a rescue at that time. While the mostly volunteer rescue teams were able to successfully navigate the high demand, ill preparedness was a reoccurring theme among those needing help in many of the latest rescues. A lot of times it's just a sporadic idea of going up and doing a hike where they find themselves ill prepared for heat with lack of water and food. They're hungry, they're scared, they're cold, they weren't prepared for nightfall to come in. He encouraged people to take along basics like water and a cell phone. Rescuers can ping cell phones or obtain GPS data to determine a location, which Williams said significantly reduces the amount of time spent looking for hikers who get lost or stranded. That's pretty cool that they can do that. Know your limits, know your limitations, Williams said. Be able to have yourself an out on the situations you get into. So I want to talk about being ill-prepared and how frustrating it is for me as somebody that spends a lot of time on the trail and somebody that knows how important it is to be prepared, to go out into these trails in my backyard basically and see so many people that are just not prepared. Granted, like, I'm going to start with the caveat of I'm all about people spending time in the outdoors. I'm all about it. Like, I would rather somebody go out on a hike than sit in their house and play a video game or binge Netflix or anything that keeps them inside. Like, go outside and have a good time. But go outside being prepared to be outside. Here in the Wasatch Front, you can be in the mountains literally within 10 minutes from my house, and some people it's even closer than that. Some people live like right on the bench of the mountain and can be in the mountain within 2 minutes. And there's trails right at the bases of some of these people's homes. And there are close to 60,000 university students in Utah Valley between two universities. There's Brigham Young University and Utah Valley University. So there's a lot of people accessing these trails that are going into the mountains not prepared. And it is so frustrating for me to go back into the backcountry, see people without a coat, without water, without food, and even without proper footwear, just like wearing basketball shorts and a t-shirt, hiking 7-8 miles in 100-degree weather. It just blows me away. Another story, and I'll roll in some footage of this as well, but I went and hiked Squaw Peak a couple months ago with Malin and a bunch of friends as well. And Squaw Peak is like a really popular trail. It overlooks Utah Valley. It's very prominent. A lot of people want to get up there. The round trip hike is 7 miles. And going up there is with a bunch of friends. It's like 3.5 miles up one way, and you gain a lot of elevation. What I noticed is this was a Saturday that I went up and did that, and there were dozens and dozens of people up on the trail. And more than the majority of them had no food, no water. They didn't have any kind of weather protection, no jacket, no rain shell, nothing. And rain was forecasted for that day. And it was obvious, like up in the sky, that there was possible chance of rain. And I'll roll in a video here that I took of me on the summit of Squaw Peak that day. And there's a group of kids sitting over on the side, and they don't have jackets or coats or even water or anything. And it was like so, like, I was just so dumbfounded in that moment. Like, how can you people go into the backcountry and not bring any water, not bring any food, like, and if it's going to rain, not bring something that is going to protect you from the weather. Like, I was just, it just drives me nuts. hiking with my wife and some friends on Mount Timpanogos about a month ago at this point. And looking back they summited at 10:30 at night, and they were calling for a rescue at that time. A mother and son and daughter going up into a wilderness area that is not far from the valley and from homes, but it is a true wilderness area. So access to it is pretty difficult. And it's 7 miles from the trailhead to the summit of Timpanogos. I don't think people realize that the amount of time that it takes for you to get up is the same amount of time, roughly, that it's going to take for you to get down. Granted, going down is going to be a little bit faster, but it's not that much faster. And I'm just so blown away that they summited at 10:30 at night and then just decided, oh, we don't have flashlights, this took us too long, we're just going to call search and rescue and they'll save us. Granted, I'm very happy that the people got rescued. That makes me really, really happy, because nobody deserves to go into the backcountry and get hurt or have anything happen to them because they were ill prepared. The money and the resources could have been used elsewhere for somebody that was in a true emergency situation. Going back to my wife and I hiking on Mount Timpanogos, Timpanogos has this, it's one of the most popular mountains in the Wasatch. Hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people hike on Mount Timpanogos every summer. It is seriously crazy how many people use this area. And it's a pretty big access issue. One of the most popular things about Mount Timpanogos is for people to hike up in the middle of the night, get on the summit, or at least on the saddle, and watch the sunrise come up from the east over Heber Valley. I've done it. It's actually really amazing, and it's a fun hike. The problem is we were hiking up and we're coming down, and these students and these people that were, again, no food, no water, no extra clothing, and it's 40 degrees up on the summit. It's cold at night, windy, a lot of exposure, and they just looked battered, totally beat up, exhausted. And that is what makes me the most nervous and scared about people not being prepared, is they decide, oh, I'm just going to go and get the trail. I'm going to hike up at 3 o'clock in the morning. We'll be up there for the sunrise, and then we'll just hike down. But you've been up all night. You're exhausted. You're tired. A lot of bad decisions can happen when you get the umbles, the grumbles, the mumbling, you're tired, you're exhausted. A lot of bad things can happen when that type of thing sets in. And I'm just walking past these people as we're headed up the trail, and they're coming down the trail, and they look exhausted and tired and just worn out. And if they would have just had a little bit of water, which they probably haven't had any water since they left the trailhead, if they had a little bit of food, which they may have put a granola bar or something in their pocket, sure, and no clothing. What if something happened? What if you actually got hurt? What if you got into a situation where you needed to help somebody and you couldn't because you weren't prepared? It's those kind of things that just, when I pass somebody on the trail, I kind of want to stop them, and I don't ever do it, but I kind of want to stop and be like, where did you go today? And how come you don't have anything with you in case of an emergency? Even a first aid kit, what are you going to do? I'm just so frustrated with it, and to be able to the fact that the news has to post something like this because search and rescue has been stretched thin over a lot of ridiculous calls that could have been avoided just really frustrates me. So the moral of the rant here is, if you're going to go hiking, just be prepared. At the very least, take water with you. Take some extra food. Take the things that you need to be prepared to be in the backcountry. Know where you're going. Don't just, I'm just going to walk up onto this trail and see where it goes. That's how people get lost. In fact, there was when we went and hiked Big Baldy a month and a half, 2 months ago, there was a group of kids that just came down the trail, and I happened to know one of them because I grew up in the same neighborhood. But I was like, "Where did you guys come from?" And they're like, "Oh, we just like got on a trail over in Provo Canyon, and we like came over just to see where this stuff goes." And I'm like, "Well, you're like 30 miles from your car when you get down to the trailhead. What are you going to do when you get back to the trailhead for this trail to get back to your car?" It's things like that. The thought process of some people when they decide to go into the backcountry. I know I'm like pretty heavy on this. I'm being bold and pretty like one-sided view. I'm not really like looking at all of the different variables that go into it. All I'm saying is just be prepared if you're going to go into the backcountry. Be prepared if you're going to spend time out on a trail. Know where you're going. Take the items with you that you need. And if you are going to hike like this woman that decided, I'm going to summit Timpanogos and start late and just keep going, like there has to be a point where you turn around, because if I know that sun's going to set in 4 hours, I can only hike for 2 hours because I don't want to be out while it's dark if I don't have a flashlight. So there you go, guys. Leave your comments, your thoughts on this kind of thing, but hopefully people will start to think a little bit more after seeing things like this and just go, duh, it's common sense. But thanks for watching, guys. You can thumbs up this video if you want. You can thumbs down the video if you don't like it, and fine with me, I don't really care. But this is just me ranting about things going on way too long at this point, almost 20 minutes of a rant. But yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you out on the trail.